The cold winter offers plenty of fun activities to choose from. One of the most common hobbies is a very popular one, skating. Some people enjoy it with all their hearts, and Gabby Shull was one of those people who loved it to pieces. This hobby would change her life, and it wasn't in a good way. To find out what happened next, keep reading and see how Gabby dealt with it. Before we hear Gabby's story, we'll be hearing a similar one to her. Greg Cunningham is a former ice hockey star and was known for his tenacious ability on the rink. But did you know that in 2016 his playing career and life were mere seconds away from death, a horrific incident that forever changed his life? Greg is letting us share his inspiring story with all of you today about what happened and how he's coping with the change in circumstances. Ever since he was a kid, Greg had loved playing ice hockey. He put his heart and soul into every game and would always do everything in his power to win a match. It was his childhood dream to play in the NHL, and he soon made it a reality by playing for the Tucson and Roadrunners. Greg was at the prime of his career. A young, healthy guy with a legion of adoring fans had it all. Until one day changed everything. Some days we can look back and pinpoint on that moment that ultimately changed our lives forever. November 19, 2016 was that very day still etched into the mind of former Canadian ice hockey star Greg Cunningham. He was warming up for the Tucson Roadrunners in an NHL game against Manitoba, when suddenly he collapsed on the rink with all his teammates in shock at what they had just witnessed. Greg was quickly rushed to the hospital where his family were informed that he suffered cardiac arrest. The match was ultimately called off, and all of his teammates made their way to the hospital to be by his side in this heartbreaking and uncertain time. It's a parent's worst nightmare to have their precious child whom they love so dearly being put into such a critical life or death situation, not knowing if they'll make it out alive and you being helpless to take a pain away and make everything better. Greg's mother recounts the moment she was anxiously in the waiting room. The doctor came in and said to me, "I'm a heart surgeon, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to save your son, and I will save your son." Cunningham's heart stopped for 83 long, agonizing minutes. No one knew if he would make it until medical professionals thankfully managed to save his life. They performed a risky operation to decompress his heart. It was a horribly stressful and uncertain time for everyone involved, as Greg was only the third person in the world to undergo it. Due to the highly extensive surgery that took place, there were some circulation complications which resulted in Greg, unfortunately, having to have his left leg amputated a month after he had an infection in his leg, and the doctors were scared that his heart wasn't strong enough to fight it off. Ultimately, it was Greg's decision, together with medical advice that determined the leg needed to be amputated. It was a case of life or limp. Greg worked relentlessly hard on his recovery process, and despite it being painstakingly slow and riddled with numerous new hurdles to face, Greg persevered on regardless of the naysayers. 4 months after the surgery took place and weeks after being fitted with his new prosthetic leg, Cunningham delighted both his loved ones and all the adoring fans when he was back on the rink, hockey stick in hand and raring to go. Peter Harsh Prosthetics heard about Greg's incredible story and reached out to him. They created a new prosthetic leg to help Greg walk much more comfortably and freely. Greg knows that it doesn't matter how young, fit, and healthy you appear to be, you can still be at risk of getting sudden cardiac arrest. He has teamed up with the All Heart Foundation and created a new and improved heart screening program, primarily for hockey players. His hope is to spread awareness and save lives in the process. Our lives can change in a blink of an eye. If we don't stop and appreciate it, we might just miss it. All the Arizona Coyotes hired him shortly after on a 2-year contract to be an NHL scout, although Cunningham has now retired from NHL. He is working for 44 Vision Hockey to bring advanced technology into the sport, a new and exciting challenge for Cunningham to dig his teeth into and continue on with cementing his legacy into sport. Before we get into our next story, give this video like, smash that subscribe button, and turn your notifications on to be one of the first notified every time we upload a new video. Gabby Shull. Now we will move on to Gabby Shull's story, someone Greg Cunningham's surely would empathize with. 9-year-old Gabby Shull was out with one of her friends, having the time of their lives ice skating. Imagining they were in Frozen, when suddenly Gabby lost her footing and took a really nasty fall on the rink. What appeared to the eye to be nothing more than a bruise. All kids end up with at some point was in fact something much worse. Upon being taken to the hospital and having an MRI, it was discovered that Gabby in fact had osteosarcoma, the type of bone cancer. Her parents were in absolute disbelief and couldn't quite believe what the doctor was telling them. It's a parent's worst nightmare to have your beautiful child, who seemed perfectly healthy, dancing away yesterday to being diagnosed with cancer the next day. It is a word which has the power to send shivers straight down the spine of every toughest guy in the room. Millions face the battle each day to conquer it. Gabby was ever the determined soldier to overcome this battle. The girl looks normal now, but take a look at when the camera moves down. A 3 months, highly intensive chemotherapy course unfortunately wasn't as effective as the doctors and the Scholl family had hoped for. Eventually, Gabby had to have her cancerous right knee amputated, and from there underwent a revolutionary form of surgery known as rotationplasty. They reattached the foot to the rest of her leg at 180-degree angle. It was explained that the backward ankle and foot could then act as a healthy knee joint. Despite the rather odd aesthetic, it was the best option for a grown child. The surgeon explained to her family that the surgery, although it's very rare, actually goes all the way back to the 1970s. Only around 10 rotationplasty surgeries are done each year. Gabby's parents made her aware of the consequences of the surgery and showed her many videos of other people who went through it to reassure her and to try and make the journey as less daunting as possible. Her parents were the biggest support she could have at this very challenging stage in her life, and probably one of the reasons why Gabby managed to be so strong. All Gabby wanted to do after surgery was continue on with her ballet dancing, the dream of her loved one. Seeing her dancing fueled her with motivation to make it out of the hospital. You can see it in your mind and believe with your entire being you can achieve wonderful things in. Gabby proved how powerful her mind was and that it was stronger than anything. I basically told myself, get through chemo, learn to walk, then I could just dance again, Gabby said. Now Gabby is 15 years old, competing in belay competitions, enjoying life, rollerblading, rock climbing, and inspiring millions world. Not give up on their dreams no matter what. Although she doesn't see how inspiring she is yet, I'm sure you'll all agree with me that she'll see it one day. Gabby overcame an unfortunate disease many go through each day, and a lot aren't some of the lucky ones who make it. Gabby knows this, and that's why she's wanting to become a doctor, nurse, or scientist in order to discover a cure for cancer. She's also a national spokesperson for children's cancer awareness organization called The Truth 365. I mean, could she be any more awesome? Gabby's belay teacher and classmates expressed how she doesn't see anything as an obstacle. Where some might say, why did this happen to me? What did I do to deserve this? She's trying to raise awareness and motivate others. Bad things happen every day, no matter who you are, but our power comes from how we deal with those situations we're faced with. There are many kids who are embarrassed for not being skinny enough, for being too skinny, or for having acne. I think we can all take a lesson from Gabby. Although she has a backwards food and an amputation, she's living life to the fullest, looking at the positives regardless of the strange looks. We're all so proud of Gabby because she's done so much more than anybody expected. Gabby's mother proudly told us, Gabby is a true fighter who, despite having the strenuous task of relearning how to walk and dance again, all thrown her way at such a young age, she has shown us that although our lives can change drastically in a split second, we don't have to let it define us. If life is what we make of it, as a person, it would look like the inspirational. Gabby Scholl said, these two stories teach us that whenever life presents us with a new, difficult challenge and pushes us right up against the wall with no way out, it's our perseverance and hearts we're left with to carry on, putting us through the hard times until we can see a shimmer of light. Who is someone that inspires you and why? Let us know in the comments below. We love reading what you have to say. If you like this video, then make sure to hit the subscribe button as well. See you next time.